right, it is 1 o'clock, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, super excited to be here today to talk through some of our products and services in regards to resources for faith-based organizations and nonprofits. So if you can hear me, just make sure you put it in the chat, kind of give me a hello that you're out there. So I'll know that I'm not talking in radio land by myself. My name is Christopher Chestnutt. I am what we call an associate business partner for Google Data Centers. A part of my job and the roles of core to my roles and responsibilities is to reach out across the aisle to faith-based organizations and nonprofits to kind of share what type of products and services we have in regards to what we do at Google. Everyone knows Google as this humongous search engine, but there's so much more that you can tap into in regards to what we do and how we do those things alongside of your Gmail. And if you have a Gmail, you have the key, you have the open window to some of those products and services. Some of them are free and some of those are paid for. But what we want to highlight are the ones, of course, that are free to enhance the ministry and also enhance that nonprofit, but also some of those paid services as well. So our quick agenda for today, we're going to talk about communicating from everywhere, collaborate from anywhere, and then we're going to recap some of those, and do some resources. Communicate from everywhere and collaborate from everywhere. It's very important during COVID-19, especially one of the things that I found in this role is that everyone now is virtual. Everyone now, of course, are doing things online, whether you prefer Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx or Skype for Business, whatever you prefer. We have some of those services as well. I think that it's super important that we understand as ministries and nonprofits that these resources are out there for us to use. They're out there for us to take advantage of. And so getting these tools now to figure out how we make them work for our ministry is super important. A lot of folks just think that that Google Docs or Google Meet or Calendar, Drive, Share, and those features are just for businesses, but it really can help you when you are collaborating and trying to communicate with some of your cross-ministry teams, whether it's your auxiliaries or your different boards or your various nonprofits. These things are super, super helpful. So first things first, we're going to try to make this as interactive as possible, but we don't want you to sign into your Gmail now. We want to make sure that you have that information as well. So the biggest gateway, the biggest thing to get into our services is to make sure that you have a Gmail account. And we also encourage folks to utilize that Gmail account. We know some folks still have Yahoo and AOL. I'm not going to talk too much junk about you, but we want to make sure you have that Gmail account. That Google account is the passport to all of our products and services, to all the things that we offer. All right, communicate from anywhere. The biggest thing that we've learned in COVID-19, and as we've seen an increase in our products and services, is that folks need reliable solutions wherever they are. If you think about ministry, no longer are we in the four walls, no longer are we in our churches or our physical addresses, but we're now working from home, running meetings. We're now working from home, running ministry platforms, different schedules, things like that. And so it's important that you have the resources to communicate from anywhere. One of the things that we want to cover is our platform called Google Meet. We just went through a wonderful workshop talking about Zoom, which gave you some great tips and tricks. It's very similar to Google Meet, but we have some simple features as well. I like to share with folks that Google Meet is very, very, very simple. So my 8-year-old son uses it and my 79-year-old grandmother uses it. So we want to try to make sure that there's something in between all those age ranges that folks can use during while using Google Meet. So what is Google Meet? And it's just a transition to in-person meetings, to do video meetings with clients, customers, coworkers, and you can host up to 250 participants. If you look at the screen there, the mobile version is now one of our new platforms that actually ties into your Gmail. So if you notice that update we went through sometime in the beginning of the pandemic, where we actually tried to streamline and simplify those services. So if you are a G Suite user, it is now called Google Workplace. And what that is that's just bringing all of our services together in one central location for ease of access and also dependability. All meetings are recorded and encrypted, and you also have the feature, the chance to enable the feature to record those meetings. Super important because you want to capture the great vision casting sessions that your ministry is having. You want to capture some of those dynamic sermons or some of those Bible studies or some of those prayer groups that you're doing. It's a really great way to easily get the word out to your folks within your ministry. All right, so we have two different versions, and I like to share this with folks because people need to know, like we have the free version, which you get the maximum number of participants, which is 100. And then you also have 24 hours. That's the maximum duration of a meeting. And if that is free for you, that is through March the 31st of 2021. And the number of meetings are unlimited. And then that price per user is free. Underneath that free umbrella, the paid plans that we have are up to 250 recorded meetings, and then you also have unlimited number of meetings, as well as that plan starts at $6 per month per user. So if you're thinking about building an infrastructure for your ministry, if you're thinking about saying, no longer do I want my ministry folks just to use their separate Gmails, I want to go over to the workspace side, get with a Google contact, and they call it Rethinking Church, Sarah at rethinkingchurch.org. Whatever the name of that, whatever the domain name is, we can pull that in and it'll loop into your Gmail. So you have that access to use those features at a paid plan level. You can learn more at workspace.google.com/pricing. And it kind of gives you some of those details with the different tiers of where you want to be when it comes to Google Meet versions. All right, how your business, how your ministry, how your nonprofit can benefit from Google Meet. You feel connected when working remotely, of course. You can brainstorm ideas with the team. We now have what we call the whiteboard feature. So what that means, if you're in a Google Meet and you are thinking of ideas and you have a laptop or an iPad with that Apple Pencil and you're connected to that meeting, you can click the Brainstorm Whiteboard feature and it will bring up a virtual whiteboard, and you can write those ideas out on the screen so that folks in the Google Meet or viewing the live stream feature can actually see what you're doing and how you're collaborating. The biggest purpose of these features now is to continue to bring folks together. We understand that these are perilous times, these are crazy times, and folks feel isolated. So whatever we can do to bring our teams and our ministries together is super, super important. You can schedule remote meetings, you can schedule Bible studies, and you can host breakout sessions. So the breakout session is somewhat similar to Zoom. With the click of a button, you can break folks into different rooms, different breakouts. And what we now have for paid subscriptions, you can assign a host to that breakout session, and those folks can manage that room. And the good thing about it, once you click record in the master room and you break everyone out to the session, it records all sessions for you and saves them in your Google Drive. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentation. And you can also host online classes. We have a lot of pastors, we have a lot of ministries, we have a lot of nonprofits who are doing trainings, who are doing teachings, but they want this information to be held somewhere. They want the video or the presentation to be saved. And with this feature in Meet, when you host those online classes, it links into what we call Google Classroom. And Google Classroom was originally created for our education folks, all of our school systems and teachers and principals and those things, to kind of bring together that virtual curriculum aspect. But we've now launched out and enabled the features for nonprofits and faith-based organizations to use Google Classroom. So when you're developing Bible study curriculums, when you're developing different workshop series, different sermon series, and you want to host different plenary sessions or different conferences, you can have folks submit assignments and things like that that loop through Google Classroom. And that all starts with the Google Meet feature. And so if you're in a Google Meet and Professor so-and-so assigns you something on the Old Testament or the New Testament, you're able to see that pop up on your screen, says you have an assignment, and you can leave that meeting and go click on your assignment and jump right back in. And so those ease of features is where we're trying to make sure folks have the opportunity to go. So real simple. We put this slide up because still today, people don't know how to join a Google Meet and how to join and how to look for those things on your calendar. I tell people all the time, from March until present, March until January, we were in the practice phase. COVID-19 was a surprise. It hit us, it shut everything down. And so all of us in the technology world were trying to develop tools and resources and ramp ups to make sure that we could support our users and our services. Now we're in the execution phase. And even in your ministry, last year was hard and you found yourself trying to figure out different ways or different ways to do different things when it comes to bringing your congregants or your teams together. Well, now's the time for us to execute. And execution just means that we're going to use some of these tools that are necessary out there for us to help us get to that next level. So real simple, how to join Google Meet. You can have option one, you can just use Google Meet, and it's very simple. If you are using your calendar and you want to create a meeting for your team, or you want to create a meeting for some of your associates in the ministry, you just go, you go to calendar, you schedule the invite, and you send it out. But you can also go to meet.google.com. And what that allows you to do is start a new meeting, and it will give you a meeting code. And what you do once you get that meeting code, you share that out with the folks, and they're able to join without a calendar. You may have some senior saints to say, I don't even have a calendar, but we can get them online to meet.google.com. And with that calendar code or with that meeting code, they're able to join the video conference and see each other and interact. The next way, of course, is Google Calendar. And that's simply, you can add a meeting, you can add a title, a day, a time, you can add video conferencing, and you can also invite as many participants as you want, and this will send them the calendar invite via their Gmail, or if they have it pulled into their Outlook platform or whatever platform they use, it will still send the link as well. And we have a lot of folks who use both sides. It just depends on functionality and whatever's easiest for your ministry. I tell folks all the time, make it simple. So if you have a group of senior citizens, or if you have a group of older saints who don't deal with electronic calendars, but they're able to go to meet.com and click that and type in that meeting ID, they can join. You also have some folks who live by their calendars, who want everything by their calendars as far as on their phones, convenience, iPad, iPhone, Android, whatever. So make it simple. We have two options on how to make it simple so folks can take advantage of those services. When you think about, adding a video conference, we also have an option to join by phone. And what that is now for us is, we've seen a lot of people in rural areas. We've seen a lot of people who don't have access to strong Wi-Fi, strong networks. And so you can join on your video, and it will allow you to join by your phone. So the phone will pick up your audio. The phone will pick up what you're saying, and then it will stream through the phone, and all they'll see is the video. And sometimes when you're on a Zoom or when you're on a Google Meet, and if you're just using audio by computer, it may freeze and you become blotchy and you become frozen. And so we try to eliminate that by enabling the feature to join by phone. And that's really helpful for a lot of our users. Add more details, be descriptive as possible. You can click the more options button, and that allows you, while you're building out this calendar invite, to kind of attach an agenda, to attach a proposal, a ministry proposal. You can attach something creative that you want your team to review before they get to the meeting. You have that feature to add that when it comes to the more options tab. And guests will receive an email with the calendar information and the invitation, and all they do at that point is click to join that particular meeting. That's a simple process, simple way that we encourage folks to use. A lot of our ministries and I'm based in North Carolina, a lot of the ministries and nonprofits in North Carolina, they use strictly the calendar features because they keep a track of what they're sending. They're also able to add those agendas, to add those attachments, to add those documents to the meet themselves. And the good thing about the paid features, and you will have these features if it's free until March 31st of 2021 of this year. But when you add an agenda or when you add a document to that meeting, now there's a tab in the right-hand corner of that meeting that says attachments. And live in the meeting, you're able to see those documents on your right-hand tab. And that is super helpful for folks who are trying to stay organized and trying to make sure that they stay on task when it comes to those various meetings. So the host clicks join with Google Meet to start the meeting. Simple process. We have now enabled the host feature. And so when you do it this way, you can assign a host to run that meeting on your behalf. You can assign a host or you can assign a co-host to present and share their screens. We're trying our best in this part just to make it very, very simple and easy. As we've collected feedback from a lot of our partners and a lot of our consumers, one of the things that we found out is some of this stuff looked easy, but it was too hard for, someone's grandma or someone's grandmother or someone's uncle or someone's kid who's in class trying to make sure they're able to get online. And so we want to streamline those features and kind of make it as simple as possible. So anywhere you see join with Google Meet, if you initiated the calendar event, it will automatically assume that you are the host. It will automatically assume that you are in charge of the meeting, and then you have the option once you get inside of Google Meet to actually enable the co-host feature or enable the host feature for folks to actually use. And this is a simple platform of how meetings look. This is how it looks on your phone. This is how it looks on your laptop. And it also lists at the bottom where it says Team Sync, right here in this area here, it'll show you who's already in the meeting and who's in the call waiting on you. So you can join and you have the option to present. So you can say, Chestnutt, suppose I don't want to join. I want to listen in on my phone. They don't want to see my camera and I just want to present. Then you have the option to just click the present button, that blue present button, and it will allow you to present your entire screen, a window, or a Chrome tab, which is really, really helpful. And then, as I said before, if you're having buffering issues, if you're having issues with trying to make sure that your video is clear because the lack of the internet bandwidth wherever you are, you can just join by audio and it will allow you to do that as well. So really simple platform. We try to make it as clean as possible, as easy as possible, so folks can use these services. I'll say this time and time again, we want it for a 7-year-old and we want it for a 95-year-old. We want to make sure that we approach this with all matters of being inclusive, meaning that everyone can get something out of these services wherever you are in life. It's super important. All right, we want to do a quick deep dive into some of our Google Meets features. And I'm talking kind of fast because I'm trying to cover all the content so that you can get the full scope of some of these products and services. Google Meets features, what we've done is we have enabled now what we call the Brady Bunch view or the Greer view, and we've kind of made sure that the user is in control of those features. How it relates to your ministry, sometimes you have folks who are on a ministry call who don't want their camera on. So you have the power to control now with the pay features. You have the power to control cameras. It was a time when you could only control audio. You can mute and unmute folks. Now you have the feature as the host to disable cameras or ask them to enable their cameras, and which is really, really helpful because sometimes, when you're in a meeting, and we've got to understand that image is everything, and you want folks sitting up straight, you want folks looking at the camera, engaging in what you're talking about for the ministry, especially if you're going to record this and go live or things like that. And sometimes after a long work day, you get home and you realize you have this ministry meeting and you want to sit in a recliner. And we've had some folks who fall asleep, who don't really pay attention, who are doing other things. And as the host, you just want to make sure that when you see all those folks in the squares, you see the best of the best. And so we enabled that feature for you to go in and cut folks' cameras off if you need it, which is super helpful. If you look here, we have the chat room where you're able to chat and have discussions and then break out into other things. You also have the microphone button at the bottom as well as the camera. And these toggles at the bottom just enable you to mute yourself, to unmute yourself, turn your camera on and off, and also end the call. The good thing about our chat room is when you are chatting and after you finish as the meeting host, it will send you a Google Doc with the transcript of everything that was said in that meeting. So if someone's taking notes in that chat room, if someone is taking notes in that session, those session notes will be sent to you, and you have the ability to kind of parse them out or create a doc and share and collaborate and things like that. So at the bottom, we have the present option. And it's super important now more than ever that folks are able to share their screens. You are working on a presentation for a new members rally. You're working on a presentation for children's church or things like that. You want to be able to share that presentation. You have the option to share your entire screen, a window, or a tab just by clicking that Present Now button. I encourage folks all the time to share a Chrome tab. Sometimes in the haste of things, you may have things on your window, excuse me, you may have things on your window that you don't want people to see. You may have things on your desktop that are confidential. So make sure you just share that tab. And all it does is it allows you to share that singular tab. It doesn't allow you to share the entire window or the entire screen. Recording a meeting. Simple feature. There's a hamburger button. We call it the hamburger button, which is the 3 dots, 1, 2, 3 under each other on the right side or left side of your screen, depends on which way you look at it. This allows you to click that button and record a meeting. And all it does is it records the entire conference or the entire session for you, and then it sends it back to you in Google Drive. It sends it back to you real time within an hour or two. Sometimes it depends on the length of the meeting. It takes time to parse and to buffer, but it'll send it back to you in Google Drive as a link, and then you can share it out with some of your ministry leads, partners, constituents, whatever you want to call them. Google Meet's best practices. We just always encourage you to keep your camera on, choose a neutral background. External microphone may have better sound quality. Mute when you're not speaking. Solid color clothing looks best on the camera to avoid stripes and patterns. These are just some of the tips and tricks that we've seen in doing these presentations to ministries, nonprofit businesses. We give this information out. Not mandatory, but nice to have. So we talk about the collaborate from anywhere. And I'll pause for a second to see if there are any questions, anything in the chat, anything folks want to ask. You have the ability to jump in there now and ask me any questions before I will keep moving forward. So Catherine said, where do I sign up? We'll get you some information on how you can sign up as we finish this presentation. But collaborate from anywhere. It is very, very important that given the political climate, given the way the world is operating, we're thankful for the transition we just went through, culturally, wherever you believe. It's important that people feel included. People feel as if they're a part of the ministry. People feel as if they're a part of the organization. And the best way to do that now during COVID-19 is technology. And so we pride ourselves on the collaboration feature from anywhere, on your smartphone, on a plane, on a tablet, wherever you are. You have the opportunity to work on a document, to work on a spreadsheet, to work on a budget, to work on a presentation with someone from wherever you are. And that's core to our collaborate from anywhere slide. We have several applications that are geared towards those types of collaboration. We have Sheets, which is the equivalent to, if not better, Microsoft Excel. We have Docs, which is similar to Microsoft Word. We have what we call Slides, is similar to PowerPoint and also Keynote. And then the biggest thing we have is Drive. In ministry, if the system is one person, the system is broke. And we try to share with ministries and nonprofit that you always want to save data. You always want to save files and make sure that there's a central repository or a central deposit zone for all of those type of documents. I remember when I first started in my ministry career, everything was on a thumb drive that was transitioned from a CD or a floppy disk. And then we went to a thumb drive. And I remember at a time, I had a little black bag of about 25 small thumb drives and maybe 3 hard drives. Well, the way of the world has changed. And if someone needed something from me, they had to call me and I had to go home to a computer, load it up, and send it. Versus now, everything is saved in Drive, and with the click of a button, you can share that document to your entire organization. You can share that to your list of executive pastors, or you can share it to your worship and fine arts team. No longer do we need those thumb drives as a backup because we now have cloud-based computing. And what that just simply says is there is information stored somewhere for you to get your hands on with the ease of access at all times. And then we also have photos, which is a really cool way to share photos. If you are taking a photo shoot and you want to upload those photo shoots of a different department and share it out, you upload them to Photos and share it out. And folks are able to comment and say, I like this one. Let's add to this one. Let's take away from this one. And then you also have Chrome, which is our standard browser. And then, of course, why we started what we do, which is Gmail. So access to Google Drive, as I mentioned before in the beginning, everything is based on that Google account, on that email. And you can just go to g.co/drive/upload, and you're able to see your Google Drive real time and what you have there. It is a place for all of your files. You can upload videos, you can upload documents, you can upload PDFs, you can upload pictures. There is so much you can do collaboratively in Google Drive. And the good thing about it is if you upload a document and you only want 10 of your core ministry leads to see it, you can create a work group within that doc or a workspace within that Google Drive, which pulls those documents out of the bigger drive and separates it into the smaller drive where only 10 people that you've given access to can see those features. As I mentioned before, you can access or share these files anytime from anywhere, even when you're offline. And that's a simple feature by going in and clicking Enable Offline, and you're able to see those documents anywhere you are. And the good thing about it is, from a collaboration standpoint, all of your ministry leads or your support groups, whoever works in your fivefold ministries and your nonprofits, they're able to work with you on those documents real time. They're able to see you typing and you can see them typing and make some edits and make some revisions or give some comments or give some suggestions. And it's a way to bring folks together versus sending the Microsoft Word document in track changes and saying, hey, edit this in track changes and send it back to me. You're not able to do that more collaboratively by bringing those folks together. You can organize files. It is super, super easy to use. If you're like me, you want to log in and have one source of truth for all of your documentation. You want to log in and see one place where all of your files are. You're able to create folders, to move folders, to share documents. It allows you to maintain your mobility while also being organized at the same time. Control is everything in ministry. Control is important in a ministry. Not that we are control freaks, but we want to make sure we have integrity and have some data integrity when it comes to what we're sharing and who's able to view what we're doing. And so you can share and give different access levels to different types of ministry leads. If you're working on a budget for your finance team, you can only share that with the finance team. If I'm in Drive and click on that, I can't get into it because you didn't share it with me and I'm not a part of that ministry team. If you have an agenda for only 10 to 15 people that you want to view, you're able to do that through sharing it and giving people different access. The access levels for us are a commenter, an editor, and also a viewer. So if you just want, my team to view that document, you add me as a viewer. If you want me to comment only, read it and give you some suggestions, read it and give you some feedback, read it and give you some pointers as to how to update that document, you add me as a commenter. If you want me to have full edit access, which means I can take, delete, insert pictures, insert tablets, insert graphs, insert anything I want, then you give me full edit rights. And those are the parameters that kind of where we are. So when you create a document in Google Drive, you create a new blank template or a blank document. It gives us some sample ones if you pay for the subscription, which is what we encourage folks to do because it unlocks all those features. You'll have access to more templates, more nonprofit templates, more ministry templates. There are some ministry templates out there that you're able to use and be a part of. Really cool stuff if you want to take advantage of it. All right, so we talk about populating and formulating a document. We talk about the ease of access and how we want to create a document and how we want to share those documents. The next couple slides are simple. It just kind of gives you what you can and cannot do with a document. So when you go to Google Docs, it's just like a Microsoft Word platform. It allows you to add clip art. It allows you to do the standard formatting when it comes to typing. It allows you to do all those features. But the biggest plus to it, as I mentioned, it's more collaborative. The idea is in this pandemic and beyond is continue to bring your teams together. Continue to bring folks together to make them feel like they're a part of what the ministry is doing. If you have a vision plan, if you're working on a vision plan and you want to share that vision plan and have members of your team collaborate on that document, you create it, you share it out, and folks are able to talk to you, to add comments. There's even a chat feature within the document, so you can create a discussion about the document so that folks can know what's going on. So as I noticed, as I listened here and kind of shared earlier, share, comment, or assign. The comments feature is when you want to plus someone in and add an email address so that I can tag RJ Stevenson or Creative Concepts. My brother's here, so I know I can call on him. I can tag him and I can say, hey, RJ, please edit, line 1 through 5. And it will highlight only lines 1 through 5 and share with RJ. And then you can also assign it to him, and what it'll do is it'll send him a reminder that he has he has a piece of a document that he has to edit, and it'll assign it to him and it will send him an email. Now, the great thing about our new features, if you roll out of the free plan into some of those paid subscriptions, is that you can set a timeline and you can actually set approvals. So if you're creating a document and you want folks to approve that document, you can add them as approvers and they will go in and read the document and click approve, and that document does not become final until it is approved by those folks you assigned it to. Collaboration in Sheets. Sheets is our spreadsheet platform. Same thing as Docs. The biggest thing I want us to take away today is that these platforms are available for us to make sure you are using them in a way where folks can collaborate with you and feel a part of what you are doing. No longer can we say in ministry that we're isolated. We now have tools, we now have tricks, we now have different web-based software platforms to bring folks together in a more excellent way for the ministry. All right, you can collaborate in slides, and I'm gonna share a different tab really quick so that you can see what I'm talking about. All right, as we talk about sharing in slides and things of that nature, here's what I developed a ministry project plan, totally fine to share it, for North Carolina disciples in working with some of the work that they do. And these are some of the designs and templates that you have access to when you are using Google Slides for faith-based and or nonprofit. And you're able to see how you're able to put a budget slide, local church needs, staffing, professional ministry development, family engagement, community engagement, and then global disciple initiatives. And this is catered, this presentation was catered to this particular ministry. But the good thing about that collaboration piece, if I want to go to this document and highlight the text and add a comment, I can right click and click the comment button. And then as you see, I can plus, and I'm going to plus Roderick Stevenson, which is on here now, and I can assign it to him and it'll send him an email. But if you notice, it says, do I want to give this person edit or comment rights? And I'll give him edit rights, and then I'll click OK. Now, if you are sharing this outside of your organization, if you all have purchased a paid subscription, what happens is you'll always get this message. Do you want to share this outside of your organization? And you just click got it. And I've assigned this to Roderick Stevenson. And so when Roderick jumps in the document, he's able to see where I assigned him something and where he's working in those parameters. Think about how many times we've had to print documents and mail them out to our teams. Think about how many times we've had to attach PDFs because we don't want folks to touch and edit our PDFs. Think about how many times we've had to send documents using Word via track changes. So these features alleviate some of those stresses for ministry, but they also add that collaborative part. And the feedback that we get across this region and all over the state, and as well as the US, is that people feel a part of the broader vision. They feel a part of what's happening when you allow them space in that creative space. And so that's the approach for some of these documents and some of these things. And if you want to, approvals is very important when you're dealing with proposals, when you're dealing with ministry. The new features we have now is you're able to do approvals, and you click that approvals tab and click the new request button, and you're going to add folks as an approver. So I'm using him as a dummy today, as a tester, and I'm going to add a due date, and I want Roderick to approve that on the 29th by 12 noon because I have to do something with it. So I'm able to say, send that request. And what it does is it sends that document. And if you notice here, it says that you have an approval pending. It says that you have an approval pending. And what happens is it allows you the opportunity to go in and make sure that that person is reviewing the document. And if you notice on the screen, you'll see that tab that says approval pending right there. And you can click on that and it should take you, I have to bump my other screen. It should take you to the next phase of that approval where you're able to see Roderick trying to, or getting access to approve that document. And so I share those features with folks because he says, dang, more work. I shared that feature with folks because think about how many times you have sat at your desk or sat in your study or sat in your ministry offices extremely frustrated because someone changed the formatting of a document or someone changed how you were trying to say something instead of adding a comment to make sure that what you're saying is actually what you're saying. And if you look at that approval tab, which is really, really, really easy and really, really simple for folks to gather, it shows you, that there is approval pending, and whoever is watching or looking out for that, it sends them an automatic reminder. I think it's every 2 days before the due date. So if you set your due date for 2 weeks, every 2 to 3 days, it will send a reminder. Now, we want to avoid what we call unnecessary inbox chatter. You can set those parameters to change the reminder. You can set those parameters to say, I'm sorry, I don't want it to send me an email every day. I know I need to do this. I'm a professional. I'm on top of my ministry game. Set it to give Chris a reminder 2 weeks out. It will send that reminder. And I encourage folks to take advantage of those features because they're so easy for you to do when you're doing collaborative ministry. When you are doing things to bring people together, we want to make it as simple and as easy as possible. If we go back to collaboration in slides, as we move forward, there's some tips and tricks. Well, you say, Chris, I don't want just a Google slide. I am a Microsoft person at heart. We can develop it in Google Slide, or one of my sister churches send it to me in Microsoft. I need to download this in PowerPoint. You have the ability to download it in a Microsoft Word, in Open Document, in rich text format, as well as PDF, as well as a web page, and as well as what we call EPUB publication. So that we try to make it simple. Even though it's collaborative, you have the ability to download those things based on where you are. We are not forcing Google down the throats of our partners and our consumers, but we want them to know they have options, and this information is out there for them to use. I mentioned earlier in the presentation about making the files accessible offline and things like that. That is one of the features there, because you don't have Wi-Fi. And the good thing about this feature is when you get back to Wi-Fi, it updates the document live as if you were already on Wi-Fi. So if I'm stuck in a car with no hotspot and my mobile hotspot's not working and I need to edit a document, I'll edit that document. It will save it in Drive, and then when I get back to Wi-Fi, it will parse and filter those updates through, even when someone else has already updated it, which is a really good feature. So I'll take a pause here. I'll take a quick pause. If there are any questions, dump them in the chat. I think Dr. Bell is saying, is this a free feature? So it is available for those nonprofit and faith-based organizations free until March 31st of 2021, this year. This year it's available. Now, the good thing about it is I encourage folks, after you transition out of that free phase, the full features are available free to nonprofits and faith-based organizations. And what that means is you just have to have a 501c3 in place. And if most ministries have that 501c3, if you have that, I will share a website with all the folks here. You go there, you fill out the questionnaire. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks or less to get that approval, and you'll get an approval from our internal growth Google team saying, hey, you are approved to use our services, and you have access to all of these that are free for faith-based organization and nonprofits. So right now, if you haven't signed up, you can use them free until the 31st. But after today, go to the website, drop in your information with your name, your ministry name, your faith-based, and a copy of that 501c3. That's simply that our ethics and compliance team can say, hey, this is who they are. They're legit. Let's give them these services. You know, the goal is to be as diverse, to put our services into everyone's hands, because a lot of our users use these services, and we want to make sure that this diversity component, that freedom of how we work, that freedom of how we run ministry, that freedom of what we do is available for all folks, all persons. All right. So next steps, you can learn to communicate. You can learn to collaborate, and you can get the additional training you need. Those are the websites there, and I will make sure you get a copy of this presentation. Other apps to explore that we did not have a chance to cover, but I'm happy to do one-on-ones, and my information will be listed at the end of this deck so we can go through it. You can create forms to create surveys. You can create sites that are not just hosted on your intranet or your internal internet, but you can host them on the World Wide Web. You can also do photos and YouTube and things like that. And of course, our Play Store allows you to download patches and different types of things if you are an avid Android user. There are also business and marketing lessons and tools at g.co/primer, which is how we help our businesses get online. If you are a ministry and you've launched that 501c3 business wing, this is a good site for you as well. How to build a website, how to get your business online. And what they ask you to do, if you complete these courses and complete these trainings, you have the opportunity to put your name in to get some of this free technology that is sent out, such as a Chromebook or additional Wi-Fi and hotspot devices for wherever you're located. They also have quick videos on how to get your small business help, things that can help the ministry, the 501c3, the nonprofit, the faith-based. These things are out here for us. We just have to tap into them. There are also free online trainings for teachers and students, local businesses, job seekers, developers, and that's google.com/grow. And that is the way you will get to that nonprofit side, and you'll click nonprofit, and it will ask you to complete that questionnaire so that you are able to get these services. And here's some of our resources that are listed there. These are all the things that we're offering now, and there's many, many more to come. One of the great things about what we do is we're now developing a faith-based nonprofit playbook. And what that playbook is in the ethics and compliance review right now. I can share that very top level. But what it does is it will allow us to send this document, and there's a one-stop shop. I use this a lot. It's a source of truth for all things related to faith-based and nonprofit ministry. So if you want to know how to, set up meetings, use Primer, use the accounts, use Docs, it's going to be all in that document for you. Again, that's my information there. That's my email. Feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to send me a message, or even in the chat. I'll be here all day. I think this conference is wonderful. I tell people all the time across North Carolina and I use this hard language a lot, there is absolutely no excuse why our ministries and our faith-based organizations are not excelling. This information is out there, and most of it is free, and some of it is paid based on your budget. But the good thing about it is available to all of us for use. And not just in the pandemic, because the way we operated, pre-COVID cannot be the way we operate post-COVID. And so if we're going to use these tools, use these tricks, use these support systems for the ministry, let's tap into them now. Let's learn them. Let's master them. And so we can keep going. The biggest thing I've learned in this role, and then serving in, full-time executive admin ministry before I got to Google, was that churches and ministries are somewhat afraid to reach across the aisle and say, hey, I need help. I need that support. I need to know how to do this. There is always a more excellent way. And so I encourage all of our ministry leaders and those who are here and who will be watching this, it is super important to take advantage of resources that are being offered to you for the advancement of the kingdom. The world has changed. I don't think we will get back to the place we used to. And so now technology is our medium. It's our platform. It's how we're going to collaborate and bring folks to the table. It's how we're going to make people feel included about the great visions and the great works, that we do. Habakkuk teaches us to write the vision, make it plain so that men may run. Here's how we make it plain. Here's how we make it plain so that men may run, by using these tools, by using these things to help us get to the next level. So I'm going to pause. I know I'm over time really quick, but any questions in the chat, anything burning that people want to share? How did I transition from ministry into marketplace? Really quick, I grew up in a body called the Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ International, which is North Carolina stateside based. I took the opportunity to be a part of our body, working in our youth group, working in our DCYF, which is called Disciples of Christ Youth Fellowship. I joined that group and I kept going, and I was able to become our executive administrator for our denomination. We have about 69 churches in the state of North Carolina, 23 in Ghana, West Africa, and 16 in Mexico. And so I was able to do that for 11 years. Well, in that 11-year span, I was able to meet people across the aisle and meet people. So I was able to go to Jacksonville, Florida, and support and work and be the executive assistant to Bishop John Guns. And then I left Jacksonville, came home for a bit, still did the church work, and I went to Detroit, Michigan, where I was the executive to Bishop Marvin Winans and the Perfecting Church. And I had a great time there, learned so much, and I transitioned to be a support member and a team lead with Triumph Church and Pastor Solomon Kinlock. And after all that time, maybe almost 13 years since graduating high school and college, I just got burnt out. I wanted something different. And I decided that this is a part of ministry where I can help nonprofits and help other organizations. And so one night I applied for this role and went through the process, and now I'm here. So I encourage people, take advantage of those resources and opportunities that are out there. There's Detroit in the house. Yes. And this is also great for course makers. So all these things, if you're making tips and tricks, if you're making tools for your ministry, absolutely, absolutely helpful. Any more questions? I want to be sensitive of your time. I'm like 45 minutes over. And if not, thank you all so much. And I hope you have a great day.